the fountain here at Long Beach as we get ready for the 34th running. That's turn 2, and it leads into our points. And remember, we had points last night scored at Twin Ring Motegi, which means right now Elio Castroneves leads Scott Dixon and Danica Patrick. And as you notice, down at the 12th spot, there is Graham Rahal. And remember, the winner here will pick up 50 points. So these guys could get right back into the event. Let's go trackside.
Hey, the kid's going good. The kid's learning. And you know what? Don't take offense. Looks a lot like his mother. Pretty.
Thank goodness. Right?
Yes.
Bobby, go.
For time, heads up. Here it comes.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Cool. That happened. Thank you, Bobby.
The Grand Prix. Today, the end of one open-wheel era. The finale of the Champ Car Series. Every year, sounds here echo from the stands, where legends have tasted victory. A place where stars have been born. Today, it's the final chapter, as past stars race side by side against the new stars. Who will carry a Champ Car legacy on to the IndyCar Series? And there you see the cars have fired, and that is Frank Pereira in the 34 that has not yet come to life. And there is our pole sitter, the 02 McDonald's DP01 of Justin Wilson. And take a look at our starting grid. It'll come across the top of your screen. And boy, what a run by Alex Tagliani.
You know, really in a part-time ride with Derek Walker, who's not running a full season. Everything was put together at the last moment, but just goes to prove that they can run up front in any type of motor racing they're involved with.
All right, let's get our final pit road stories. Let's bring back Jack Arute.
Guys, Scott Goodyear was talking about the fact that for Derek Walker, this was a last minute. Well, how last minute was this team put together? How about 3 days before the trucks had to leave for Long Beach? Now, just moments ago, Walker gathered his cobbled together crew, and they had a brief moment. They said, look, we want to thank you for all your hard efforts. But with all that hard effort, the only way this is going to be a success for us is to win. They say that they're going to go after fuel consumption, much the way Danica Patrick did yesterday, to bring Alex Tagliani to victory lane here. Let's check in with Jamie Little. Jamie?
Hey, Jack, it's good to see you back. You know, we've talked about these different agendas today, and there's 9 drivers in the field who are competing in the IndyCar Series, so they're going for points. Now, the rest of the field, it's all about the win. I talked to Oriol Servia earlier this morning, and he said he's going to drive this race a little more conservative. Why? Because he has so much more to lose. He's going for those points. He said as this race dwindles down, he said you're going to see some guys making some desperate moves to get to the front because it's all about the win. So there's different agendas going on here, Bree, but it's all the same goal, and that's to win. Brian?
Jamie, well, for fans of Jimmy Vasser, this weekend's been a little bittersweet. While he, yes, is back in the driver's seat of a race car, there's been a lot of speculation that this might be the very last time he does that. Well, I talked to Jimmy a few days ago, and I have some good news to report. He is definitely not ready to hang up his helmet just yet. While he said he can't make it to the Indy 500 as a driver this year, he's very aware that in '09, it's the 100th anniversary of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he definitely wants to be a part of it. In fact, he said he's going to start working out this weekend. Guys,
And we've got a helmet cam with Jimmy as well. That should give us some interesting shots. We'll show you that a little bit later. Let's talk about what we should be watching for in this race.
Well, some different things in this series and the other series that we've been covering for a little while. Push to pass. Each driver gets 60 seconds of extra power, 50 horsepower, and also 300 extra RPM. The tires, different options here. The regular black wall tires and the red wall tires, which we'll bring you up to date on throughout the race here today. Race strategy, it's going to be up to the engineers to put all those pieces of the puzzle together. The push to pass, when to use it, when to use the tires, the option tires that Bridgestone gives you, and when to put that package together best throughout the race to give their driver the best chance to win here today.
And something else you'll notice different from the IndyCar series with the Indy Racing League, a standing start. When those 4 lights go full light, then they'll go dark, and when they go dark, the race is on. You heard Justin Wilson talking about wheel spin at the start. The back of the pack still coming into play. We should be about 10 seconds from the start of this race. You'll hear the revs of these turbocharged engines. Another difference between the two. There's the first, second, third. Here we go. Wow, what a start by Will Power. Did you see him cut around to the outside? Look out for turn 1. Justin Wilson on the left of your screen. Will Power dives for the lead and gets it.
You know, the pole sitter, Justin Wilson, got an opportunity, Marty, to choose whether the driver's left, driver's right on the start. He chose driver's right, and sometimes you make that decision, and sometimes it goes against you, like we had in this situation here where Will Power slipped up the inside.
We're being told it is a full course yellow on the race course. We do not know why. And we have a car stalled now on the front stretch, and there it is. It's one of the KV racing machines. It can't make out the number.
And now he got just pulled and restarted. Looks like Oriol Servia.
Yes, it was. The 5 of Servia. So he will be back at the back of this field as he gets the tow, gets refired.
You know, and lucky for him, they went full course yellow because they probably could have got him running and pulled behind the car and started, and then he would have been way behind the pack. But now with this yellow, Marty, he gets the bunch up. Although he is at the very back, he at least is in touch with the pack.
But what a start by Will Power, the Australian, who is running the full season. He was in the number 4 position and just got a great start to take over the lead heading down into turn 1. You'll notice also the clock running up on the top of the screen. It is not a lap race, it is a timed race. 1 hour, 45 minutes. Let's go back, take a look at Power.
Now, everyone is starting, and you can see Will Power, the second green and yellow car in your picture there, gets a great start, and you can see further in the back, the cars were stalled. Now, as we watch here, the lights will go off, drivers will start. You're on board right now with Will Power. He's got so much speed, he couldn't decide whether to go right or left. He makes it to the left, and this is what I talked about before. Justin Wilson, McDonald's car on the right-hand side, chose driver's right. Well, the first major turn, Marty, is a left-hander. I think I would have wanted to start on the left-hand side.
I think he might be thinking that now, too. Take another look. Boy, what a great start by Power.
Oh, Power down just, and no pun intended, but he certainly cut the power down off he went.
And you can see Servia stalled in the back there, as that's why we are under our first yellow here. So we'll continue around at least one more lap. We'll go to commercial break and be back here at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. There's your top 5. Back here at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, and we're back to green flag racing with Will Power in front of Justin Wilson, Alex Tagliani, Frank Pereira, and Paul Tracy. That's your top 5. And again, on the restart, Power nails it.
Perfect timing coming out of the hairpin, and a great run right now. Paul Tracy down the inside. Timed that one perfectly past Frank Pereira coming out of the hairpin.
Tracy says, rookie, I'm coming through.
Remember, this is Paul Tracy's possible last race in the IndyCar. It's his last race for the Foresight Racing team. He's sort of been put on hold since the beginning of the season with the merger. And he said that he would love to be in the IndyCar from this point forward, and he's hoping that will happen starting at Indianapolis.
The truth about Paul Tracy is he has always been known as a very aggressive driver, to say the least. It would be a shame if he wasn't a part of the new joined union in the Indy Racing League. And Hopefully somebody will say they want to sign him and get him back in the race car. And there he is right now running in 4th. And boy, that bump right there, you can see it rattles your tooth.
Well, it's a compression bump, and it's been there even when I was driving here, Marty. What it does is just puts so much pressure on your spine and really jars your neck into your shoulders. When you finish this race, as Paul clips the wall with that right rear, spins the back end of the car out just a little bit, recovers though. Maybe he will get past down the end of the straight. That's usually a loose speed coming out of here, but just to finish my thought on that last bump there, it just puts compression on your spine, and man, it's hard on you.
Here comes Pereira, is trying to take advantage of Tracy's mistake, and he lights him up, and he's going to go on the runoff area. Now he's got 2 options there. He can turn, or he could go all the way through.
Oh, there you go.
And now he just spun off the right rear tire. Remember when he hit the wall?
That's exactly what happened. The tire is flat now.
No! Almost got run over by, it looked like Roberto Moreno.
And you know he's not going to drive that thing back there slow, that's for sure. What he ended up doing was breaking the outside of the rim when he clipped the inside of the wall in turn 11. Now you can see he's coming down, and the tire is already flat. If you look at his right rear tire, the left rear tire for us, it is already flat when he's trying to make the maneuver going into the turn, and that's why he's locking up the front wheel. Now he knows it's flat once he spins it around, and he'll be lucky if he doesn't lose a lap on this.
There he is trying to nurse his way back around to pit lane. And had he known it was flat, it would have been better for him to continue to work his way through the run-through area there. You are allowed to do that as long as you do not gain positions. Meanwhile, let's check out what's going on back at the lead. It is still Will Power by 1.7 seconds over Justin Wilson right there. There is 3rd, Alex Tagliani. Then Frank Pereira is 4th, and there is Frank Montagny as he has moved in. And there is the number 4 making a very nice pass as that's Nelson Philippe getting around, and he has now moved into the top 5. There's Tracy in the pit lane. They're checking for other damage. He is definitely going to go at least 1 lap down. There's Philippe in the 4 car, and that's what's left of the tire on the right side of your screen.
Well, you can see the rim is broken, and that then just depletes the air. The bead of the tire comes away from the rim at that point in time. There's no tubes in these tires, and the air just comes out of the tire, and that caused his problem going down the main straight.
Will Power, a native of Toowoomba, Queensland, Australia, right now in control. And a bit of a surprise because throughout both qualifying sessions, it was Justin Wilson that was the class of the field.
And he was driving so smooth, able to put the power down and drive the car without a problem. As we watch right now, Will Power seems to be stretching his lead over Justin Wilson just a little bit. And the thing that I always watch for, Marty, especially on a street course like we are here in Long Beach, California, is that look how easy he makes it look. And all these drivers are running up front are just staying away from the wall just a little bit because they don't have to push it that hard. That tells you how well the race car is working.
Oh, and we had a crash. That is Mario Marias, as he has hit the wall hard.
That's in the exit of turn 1 going into turn 2 by the looks of that. And looks like it wasn't even close. When you move the tire barrier as much as he did there, then he wasn't dealing with inches. He was dealing with feet.
Take a look at the replay. You'll notice, we'll talk about those red striped tires in a moment. Oh, man, was that hard.
Yeah, he was not about ready to make it. He just caught the tire barrier there to stop you from hitting the wall with the right-hand side of his car. Here he goes right now. Just a little bit too much speed, or he got caught on the outside. Either way, he did not have the preferred line going in through the turn, and this was the result of it.
Marias appears to be okay as he unbuckles and climbs out of the car. Now, there you see the red Bridgestone tires. Let's talk a little bit about that, Scott.
Well, because you see right now with the red that is on the sidewall here, there's a lot of tires out there. The black walls, we call them. They're the standard tire. They're a harder compound than what they did the red tire. And the red tire, this red sidewall that you see there on the Bridgestone Potenza, is a softer compound that Bridgestone brings here. Now, a lot of drivers prefer this, but the tires might wear out just a little sooner than the hard tire. Now, the most important thing here today, though, is that the temperatures are not super hot, track is not super hot, and the red tires might just be the preferred tire, the fastest tire, and probably last the full fuel stint, Marty.
And there is Paul Tracy back out on the track. He is shown in 20th and last position after that extended pit stop. Let's get more from Brienne.
I spoke with Tracy's team. He said that he suffered a cut tire. They're not sure whether or not that was the result of some debris on the racetrack, but the good news is there is no other damage to his race car, and look for some aggressive driving from the number 3.
Well, it was cut. I'm not sure if it was cut or if it was broken.
Yeah,
I'm going to say that's probably what he reported in, but let me just say that it was the wall.
Yeah, I think it was the turn 11 wall that sort of did that damage. There is your top 5, and of course, Paul Tracy has quite a bit of history here at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. He's won 4 of these. In fact, his first win came here back in 1993, and he was driving for the captain, Roger Penske. Stay with us. We're coming right back to Long Beach. ESPN's presentation of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach is brought to you by Toyota, moving forward. And you can see the remnants of Mario Moraes' car being towed away. And another guy that's made the long overnight flight from Motegi, Japan is with Brienne Pettigo.
Give me 1 second here, Marty. We've got Elio Castroneves, fresh from Japan, all the way to Long Beach, California. What a trip.
What a trip, literally, yes. But it's great. It's great to be here again, back. Obviously, I have my calculator on to make sure that I see what the other driver's going to do and score the points. And but it was a tough race. It was good. I mean, Danica ended up winning. It was great for the open wheel again. And I guess we have the great momentum. You know, open wheel series definitely is in a good momentum.
I got to ask you about the last 3 laps of, I guess it wasn't last night for you. It was last night for us, Sunday in Japan for you. What happened when Danica took the lead from you?
Well, I actually didn't know she was in the lead, and the guys in my pit said let her by, and I just realized on the next lap when I saw my number kind of like second, I'm like, wait a minute, but it was good because I'll probably, if I would try hold her off, I would end up out of fuel. So we didn't have enough fuel. We definitely end up like 0, so she won fair and square, and good for her.
Now, you've had some success here at this racetrack in the past. What's your thought on coming back and racing here?
Just to be here, you know, watching right now, I'm like, I want to be there. I don't want to be watching. But you know what? Patience. You need to be patient. Next year, we're going to be here. You're going to see this is even better.
Now, you are the current points leader. Are you a little nervous sitting in the stands watching some guys trying to knock you off that #1 spot?
Well, obviously, I'm going to, like I said, I'm making the calculation here, and let's see what's going to happen. Still a lot of race, so hopefully nobody get hurt here.
Well, guys, he's sitting up there with his teammate, Ryan Briscoe, keeping a close eye on some competition.
And we're back to green flag racing as you finish up, Brienne, and out front is Will Power, but Justin Wilson looking to make a move to the inside. Got a battle for the lead. Can he make it stick? Who's got the better brakes? Power holds him off.
Wow, what a great dive into turn 1. A lot of pressure from Wilson going on Will Power, but I'll tell you something, he's making it known that he has a fast car. It was a better restart this time than the previous time. He just wants to let him know that he's not going to let him run away.
What I find interesting is we talked about how in the beginning of the broadcast, the guys that are racing the season-long points championship might be a little conservative. Guess what? The guys in the front 2 positions are racing for the season-long championship, and they're not being very conservative.
You know, it's neat just to see them having a great battle between each other. And, you know, over the weekend, I would have had to have said and agreed with you that I would have thought that Justin Wilson would have had the opportunity to run away with this. His car was just working so well. And when I spoke with Will Power, he said, working on a few things, you know, we just got to tidy some things up, and I think we'll be good. But we're not there yet. Well, they must have made this thing come to life here this morning in warm-up because it's working very well for him now.
Justin Wilson, got a little wheel spin. It looked like he was pulling up on him in turn 11. But Wilson in the 0-2, nope, he's not going to be able to get it done. It's amazing, just that little bit of wheel spin. Look at the difference at the other end.
And it's the drive off of the hairpin down there that is so important. Remember, these cars do not have traction control, and then it's up to the driver to basically put his foot on the throttle as hard as he possibly thinks that he can without spinning the tires. Now, the differential on these cars is open, so you can actually make an adjustment between the ramps and preload and everything like that. In the back of those that the mechanics work on to give the driver the best of the turn, and that's what the engineers work with the drivers to make sure that is working at maximum.
And as we work our way back through the field, we pick up the 06 of Graham Rahal. That's Justin Wilson's teammate. And he has moved from 9th on the starting grid at the start of the race, and he is now moving 6th. And We talked to him before the race about the very topic we've talked about, the guys that are racing for the points championship versus those that are basically looking for a job.
I think you're going to see a lot of drivers that are out there to win, and that's all. And there are a lot of people that are going to step in for their one race this year. And that's going to be tough because obviously we're out there to get good points and to win. And if they're out there just to finish and win the thing, and it's a different perspective because they don't care if they crash or crash you. And certainly we care because we need to finish and get the points.
Well, as you ride along with Graham, you notice the clock running, an hour and 26 of racing left, a long way to go, and already teams are talking about strategy. We eavesdropped on Graham's team.
Keep working your fuel for the first part of the lap, then get everything nice and warm. We are now racing a fuel strategy race. We're going to want to go longer than the other guys.
Was this always a fuel strategy race? That last one, I was just trying not to let Bernaldi get too close. Trying to keep a fair gap.
Bernaldi is the car right behind him, Enrique, in the 36, that Sangari blue and silver machine.
You know, it's interesting because on these series here, in the Champ Car series, there is no options for the driver to change fuel trim inside the cockpit. On the IndyCar series and the IRL, they have a knob on there which they can go from fuel position 1 through 5. 3 of them are for making the engine run leaner, improving fuel mileage. Yes, you get a little less horsepower, but then you actually let the engine do the management of conserving fuel. Not so here. There's only one position for fuel. It's 100%. And what's going on now?
Trouble.
Off to the side.
Trouble for Justin Wilson. He has pulled up and out as he has made his way into the runoff area. Now, we talked about this before when Tracy went off. You can go through here.
Well, and I got to believe that he knows that he is done because he did not even attempt to make turn 1. He was going down the main straightaway and went off to the right. And you can hear the engine right now is not running. So something happened with it, and he got offline, made the racing room available for the other cars on track. A very professional move.
So that means that that man right there, Alex Tagliani, has moved up to second with Justin Wilson, our pole sitter, out of the race. And there is the steering wheel coming off, and he is climbing out. And while he does that, Jack, you have more on Tagliani?
Absolutely, guys. Alex Tagliani knows that this is a fuel race, and what I mean by that, he can calculate the time and the amount of mileage he must make. That is the strategy for this one-off drive for Derek Walker and this cobbled-together team. They've now inherited, after running steadily in third place, they've run into second with Justin Wilson's problem. All through the course of the first part of this race, all Derek Walker and his driver have been discussing is how best to make good fuel mileage, and the best way here to do that is the short shift, Scott.
And Jack, can you bring on something that I was trying to finish up there a moment ago before we saw Justin Wilson go offline, is that because the drivers don't have that management system on board like the IRL cars, it's up to the driver, as you're mentioning. So they do short shift, they take their foot off when they're running down the straightaway to try and give the car a little less RPMs and use a little less fuel. So it's really up to the driver to make mileage in this series, and the pressure's on the driver solely. It's not happening from the pit lane through the management system.
And right behind Alex Tagliani, right there is the rookie Frank Pereira. Pereira, the 2006 Toyota F1 test driver. This is his first Long Beach start. First start in Champ Car in the very final Champ Car race. And doing very well right now as he is running in third behind Will Power, Alex Tagliani, and in front of Montigny and Graham Rahal. That is your top 5, and that is Justin Wilson with the longest walk in motorsports all the way back to the pit. We're going to take a commercial break with an hour and 22 to go here on the 34th running of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Back here at the Toyota Grand Prix Long Beach. Take a look at our motorsports calendar coming up for next week. We got the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Southern Nationals qualifying on ESPN2 Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Then we'll be in Kansas next Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And that'll be followed by the finals of the NHRA competition, 7 p.m. Eastern, also on ESPN2. Back out to the streets of Long Beach. One of the men that's going to be racing next week against Danica Patrick as she tries for 2 in a row will be our race leader, Will Power, as Power now has almost a full second lead over Alex Tagliani. Let's get more from Jamie Little.
Well, Marty, as you know, everybody's talking about fuel consumption, and they need to kick it back a notch, and they're telling Will Power right now, you're doing a great job with that. He said you're conserving perfectly, and right now they're thinking they're going to have to pit around lap 30 to 31 actually is what they're getting out of the tank. So he's doing his job, he's doing it well. He started fourth, he took over the lead early on, and he told me earlier, guys, how much it would mean to win here. He said we don't get many opportunities in the IndyCar series because we're working so hard to get up to speed on those ovals. So a win here today would be huge, guys.
And we're working lap 19. As you know, it's a timed race, and that's what we show up on the top of the screen. So that gives you an idea how much longer these cars can go before their first scheduled pit stop. And let's talk a little bit about the fact that what they're trying to do is make this race in 2 stops, Scott Goodyear.
And the most important thing there again is that fuel mileage that we talked about. And one of those things that they have to watch for in each driver is just trying to conserve. And we talked about squeezing the accelerators slowly and smoothly as you come off the turns, not trying to stab it because you end up just using up more fuel that way, trying to be smooth through the shifts and smooth through the downshifts, and maybe just trailing off the throttle a little bit as you're going down into the turn, coasting into the turn a little bit, getting on the brakes and trying to keep the speed up through the turns. Basically just not trying to put your foot on the throttle as much as necessary as you would do, and that's the thing that you try to do in these types of cars there again, because you don't have the ability to turn it back via the knob in the management system in the cockpit.
And we're moving our way back a little bit in our coverage to right there to Antonio Pizzonia, because we got to give him a little shout out. He has made the biggest move up through the field since the start of the race. He started 15th. He's come up 5 positions up to 10th, and he's 9 seconds behind the race leader right now. And Pizzonia is obviously got a long background in Formula One. More on that, but first let's get more from Brienne.
Marty, well, he is moving up impressively today, and he had a little bit of a setback starting yesterday. His steering went completely out twice during practice and qualifications yesterday. During qualifications around lap 2, the paddle shifting on his steering simply stopped working. I guess there's 2 batteries, one that pulls the paddle shifter back into place. It fell out of the steering wheel, so he had no steering. They had to completely replace that today, and obviously it's working, guys.
And he is one of those drivers looking to impress somebody to pick up a ride. He has 9 starts for the Williams F1 team in 04 and 05, and right in front of him is Bruno Junqueira, as that will be a battle for position. So Pizzonia, the man on the move right now. Another guy that's on the move. Let's check in a little bit further back, and there is Jimmy Vasser, and soon to be in your shot, there is Paul Tracy. That's right. The words of his demise were premature, as after the early contact with the wall, the car is held together. He got a new set of tires and stayed on the lead lap. He is back to 15th, and you can see his cycle right there as far back as 19th. And as we get into the further stages of this race, it'll be interesting to see how this works out. And the man right in front of him, interesting story there. If you were not involved in the race at all last year, the 5 car of Oriol Servia, because Paul Tracy had contact, hard contact with the wall last year. This is what it looked like in 07.
Coming out of turn 1, got back in the gas, and the back end got away from him, and he nosed the car into the wall. The result was a fractured back. And so Paul was out of the race and out of competition for 3 months, and the driver that took his place, Oriol Servia. Now, Oriol had been speaking to the team previously and was here that weekend, and when the opportunity arose that the seat was open, he got the call.
And Servia right then took the car to 2nd place. Right now, he's trying to hold off Paul Tracy. He's in 14th. Tracy is in 15th position. And I think they both have forgotten about last year. As they continue down the long straightaway towards turn number 9, let's go back and listen in. We have the audio from the onboard. Here's what happened to Justin Wilson.
The motor will go flat, and I think he's lost a valve. If you just go along here and listen. Right there, the motor just goes flat. A very professional job to get to the right-hand side, to get off the racing line, because he knew that his day was done.
Sounded like my lawnmower. Jamie Little, you've got him.
Well, it was certainly a good call on your part. Justin, what happened? What did you hear and feel inside there?
A couple of laps before, I felt a loss of power and the engine note changed, so I know I was in trouble. I was hoping it was going to be something mechanical other than the engine, but I think it's the engine that's blown out.
Unfortunate for Justin Wilson. He's out of the car, guys. Started on the pole, and you know, this car went to victory lane the last 3 years. It will not be going today.
That's right. It was Sebastian Bourdais at the wheel of that machine the last 3 years when it went to victory lane. Of course, Sebastian moved on to Formula One. And it will now be decided right now by Will Power. He's in control of this race. He's got 2 Champ Car wins in his resume. Will he make it 3? Saturday ABC brings you the NASCAR Nationwide Series, the Aaron's 312 at Talladega. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Take a look at your race leader, Will Power. Those 2 wins we told you about that he had in Champ Car Series racing, both came last year. Both were street circuits, Las Vegas and Toronto. And you know, he led 8 of 14 races on the Champ Car Series circuit last year. 2 of those, he led the most laps. Right now, Power's lead over Alex Tagliani is just over a second. And Jack, you've got more on Will?
Guys, if you take a look at Will Power's car there and then look behind him in Alex Tagliani's car, don't be surprised if the color schemes are very similar. They're different owners, however. What happened in the offseason when unification was beginning to be spoken about, Derek Walker thought he had Aussie Vineyards as a sponsor and Will Power as the driver. But as unification came closer and closer, the next day he woke up one day and saw the color scheme on the KB Racing entry, and his driver was gone. So without sponsorship, Alex Tagliani stepped into that second place car. They kept the color scheme the same because this is the Champ Car finale for these Panoses. So there's a little additive incentive for Derek Walker today to beat the guy that took the guy and the sponsorship from him. Remember, one team, your leader, goes on to Kansas. For Derek Walker, this could be tout fini for the season.
And Derek, of course, has told you and me both he is seeking sponsorship, wants to run the entire series.
And Derek Walker, a long history in motorsport, including IndyCar racing, was the vice president and general manager for Penske Racing for many, many years and has many Indy 500 championship wins underneath his belt. Back in the early era, back in the kart days, went off to start the Porsche racing team in the IndyCar circuit, and then now has turned around and started his own team many years ago.
See the numbers at the top of your screen, the power to pass? That's how many seconds of extra boost that these cars can sort of give themselves. It's a button that they literally push, and they have 60 seconds. So like Viso, Vassar, Moreno, they haven't used any of their power to pass yet. Martinez across the top, there you see, has already used about 23 seconds.
And Martin, that's part of the race strategy that we talked about and things to watch for at the beginning of the show, because you want to make sure that you have some of these tools left at the end of the race to use when it comes down to running for the victory or running for a pass to try to get a position to possibly stand on the podium or just even increase going from 7th to 6th during the last lap or so. Now, if you go ahead and use all the push to pass and the power to pass that you have there and have none left, well, if the other guy has some left, you go down the straightaway, you're going to have no chance to get past him.
Antonio Pizzonia has a problem in pit lane, and this is going to cost him dearly. Remember, he had made the most positions from the start of the race. He had picked up 5 from 15th to 10th, but now the Rocket Sports entry is apparently dead in the water.
Well, what they're trying to do is to get him started. It looks like the car is not out of neutral, so possibly a driveline problem, because every time the mechanic tried to start the car in the back, you saw the car jump forward, so they'll have to get that rectified before they can send him out.
Well, what we're hearing is potentially 3 laps to pit for our race leader, Will Power. We're working lap number 29. It would all fit together when you come back to join us. The streets of Long Beach are alive with the sounds of turbos as we're getting ready for pit stops here. In fact, we're getting word that Alex Tagliani, second place right there in the number 15, will be pitting this time by. And yes, he makes the turn into pit lane as we're working lap number 30 here at Long Beach. And also, it looks like Will Power has made the turn into pit lane as well. Jamie?
And Will Power, remember, he didn't come in for a splash and go earlier like his teammates did. They're taking off that red set, putting the black set on. No change of plan for Will Power, who's been dominating. Jack?
Alex Tagliani drops the hammer, and he is off and away. No changes on the car other than they went from the reds to the blacks. They hope that that will change the slight understeer issue that he's been dealing with during fuel conservation, guys.
All right, thanks, guys. And that is the harder of the compounds, the black tires, the harder compound.
And what a lot of drivers said is that they put the softer compound on at the beginning of the race when the track won't have as much rubber on it, and they're not running that as fast of a pace. They think it's more of a conservative fuel run. Here we go with Nelson Philippe, just number 4, sitting here on the side of the track. That looks like turn 11, the tight hairpin, which is usually taking up 30 miles an hour. Now, he is offline, Marty, so maybe he had a mechanical problem and he just tried to get out of the way.
Meanwhile, we check back in with Will Power, and we'll wait to see how it falls into place. And we're now being told there will be a full course yellow. And you saw Paul Tracy get around Oriol Servia. Don't know if that happened before the yellow came out. It was awfully close. We'll wait and see what the race officials say. But if that holds true, Tracy will move all the way up to 6th position, because remember, we had a number of cars take their pit stop before the yellow came out. So this could be very costly to some of those cars that made the stop just before Nelson Philippe has his problem in turn number 11. There is your race leader, E.J. Viso. Now, E.J. has not made his stop. He's behind the Toyota pace car. Behind him is the 14 of Roberto Moreno, Paul Tracy, and Jimmy Vasser. Round out your top 4. Oriol Servia is enlisted in 5th. On board now with Jimmy Vasser. His 16th start here at Long Beach. There's only been 34 of these races. And
he's saying, guys, let's queue up just a little bit further, a little bit tighter. He understands how to play this game. He wants to make sure that pack is as tight as possible and they get caught up to the pace car. So when they get in the pits, he's got no patience for these guys.
Well, I'm just wondering also if there's an issue with Tracy.
You know what it was? That yellow was out when Tracy went by.
That's what I thought,
and I think exactly you're right. And that's what he's saying. Hey, man, I need the spot in there. But Tracy, see how close Tracy's going to end up just following up behind Roberto Moreno? He's not going to leave any space for Vasser to sneak in the middle there.
Well, we'll wait and see what race control says, because...
3 car is not cooperating.
And you just heard on the radio.
Spit this time, buddy.
3 car not cooperating.
So it'd be race control. Tony Kottman can turn around and pass along the message and say that the 3 car needs to be behind the 12.
I just thought of this. When was the first time you ever heard that line? The 3 car's not cooperating.
Yeah.
When does Paul ever cooperate? But that's going to be one of the reasons we need him in the unified series. There is your race leader. Looks like everybody's coming in. Let's send it to Jackaroo.
Guys, Jimmy Vasser on his get off the couch tour, as he likes to call it, is coming in for a stop. Now watch. He will go from the black tires to the red tires, so he's going to the stickier tires. This is his 2nd stop. Let's check in now with Jamie Little as they complete the stop here for Vasser.
And E.J. Viso is in. They actually put some scuffed red tires on this, fueled him up, and he's down and away in that 33 machine. E.J. Viso making his first Champ Car start. Marty?
And there you see Oriol Servia also. He has put the reds on, so he's got the alternate. And Paul Tracy, they've got a problem. They're checking underneath on the left side, looking at the CV joint.
And we had that report earlier that he felt that there was a CV joint going. That's part of the drive shaft. So if that happens, then the situation for Paul is he will have no drive to the rear wheels, and he would be out for the day if that is indeed the case.
And there you see Anala going out, Juho Anala, as he is listed in 16th position, the last car on the lead lap. Tracy will try to get back out before the field comes around, or he will go a lap down. So we're under our 3rd caution here of the day at Long Beach. And boy, it has been a beautiful weekend so far, and a historic one. Danica wins in Motegi. Who wins here in the Champ Car finale? Stay with us to find out. Back to green flag racing, and Roberto Moreno pulled into the pit lane. He was the race leader, but he pulled in just as we go back to green flag, so he surrenders the race lead as we are working lap number 34. And that is Will Power going back to the race lead. So Power in a very familiar position out in front of the field with 58 minutes remaining in this race.
Well, with a lap car in the middle right now, that really messed up Alex Tagliani, because he wants to not be too far off the back tailgate of Will Power, and this will be the opportunity for him now just to get a draft and make that move.
There is Tagliani, and he's got, I believe that's Montagnier in the position between the two of them. could be a lap vehicle. We'll check on that. It is the 9-car Pizzonia, yes, and he is a lap down, so we had the wrong number. Sorry for that. But meanwhile, so Pizzonia is a lap down in the blue car. He is sandwiched between Will Power, our race leader. Alex Tagliani is in second. Montigny is in third, and the 7 car. And then Graham Rahal is in fourth.
Now, what Antonio is trying to do is to actually make a pass and get past Will Power, be in front of him so he can be on the tail end of the lead lap. And you can see Alex Tagliani trying to make that move all the time. And
whoa, Pereira goes under Dominguez and makes it stick. Nice pass by Frank Pereira. Remember, he came to Homestead. The first race of the season was lost on the oval, but he's showing some stuff here on the street course, Jack.
Guys, one of the things the crew's been talking to Frank about is the way he restarts on the restarts. They wanted him to get a little bit quicker. They like that restart. Thus far, he said he felt as if the car was where it wanted to be, but they are in fuel conservation mode as well. It's a little bit different when you start to realize that the only thing they can do to conserve fuel when they don't have a fuel adjustment on this Cosworth power plant is what the driver can do with his right foot and with his paddle shifter.
That's exactly right, Jack. Another difference between the Champ Car and IndyCar series. Over in the IndyCar side, several settings for fuel. Here, as Jack pointed out, just your right foot.
And that's exactly true, and that's why drivers really have to be conservative. And the nice thing about here,
the push to pass if you have to.
saying the push to pass if you have to, and wondering if that might be a message going to Alex Tagliani so he can pass the lap vehicle. And yes, indeed, and he gets it done.
And take a look there, as there is the 36. That's Eric Enrique Bernoldi getting around. He gets around Dominguez.
For you.
And that's Pizzonia's radio. They were trying to get his lap back for him, and it went the other direction.
Well, I think what happened is that Alex Tagliani had the same idea, and he probably ended up pushing the button just a little sooner to make that drive down into turn 1.
So first and second are now pulling away, as it is Will Power in front of Alex Tagliani. And then it's another second back to Montigny in third. You're asking us what's happened to Paul Tracy? Well, he did get back out before the field came around. He is at the tail end of the lead lap. He is in 16th position. So he's got this a second time. He's going to have to fight his way back through this field. And this is when Paul's fun to watch. Brienne?
Marty, the reason for all that trouble for Paul Tracy is exactly what you thought it is. It is the CV joint, the outboard left CV joint to be specific. I spoke to Ken Seawick, his race strategist. He said they put a clip on the joint, but they're not sure that they got it in all the way. But they did add some grease to hopefully alleviate more of the problems. But he's back out there. This team is fighting.
Well, I'll tell you what, it'd be amazing if that thing holds together because the streets are so rough. They're hard on CV joints.
Well, and usually what ends up happening is there's a lot of sensors as we see Will Power slide that car through the turn, but there's a lot of sensors on these cars that pass along the information through telemetry back to the engineers, and they can see if something's starting to heat up, and I imagine that's what they're doing back in pit lane right now, is starting to notice that the heat was starting to get high, so they turn around, put a little grease into it. There's a rubber boot that's on top of it that holds the grease in, and if that boot is broken or the clip is off of it, maybe that's why the grease is leaking out.
Now, the thing I've noticed as we watch these guys working the cars, remember, they went to the blacks, both first and second place. We didn't see Will Power sliding nearly as much on the softer compound reds as he is on the black. So obviously it gives the viewer at home a great idea of the difference between these two tires.
Well, he's sliding around a little bit more, and they're also running just a little bit slower because it's taken him till on that lap there to finally find into the 69-second bracket, which is where he was running consistently with the red wall Bridgestone Potenza tires. So maybe it'll take a few more laps for the temperature and the heat to build up into these tires so he can make those great times that he was doing before.
That's Jimmy Vasser going underneath Bruno Junqueira. So the old man has still got a little spunk left in him. I hope he doesn't mind me calling him an old man, but he is one of the veterans of this field.
Well, when most of the drivers are in their 20s or early 30s, when you get to be in your late 30s or in your 40s, like some of these guys are, then you are right to call them an old man.
Oh, he's 42 years old, and by any stretch in open wheel racing, that is on the older side. And we had a chance to talk to Jimmy about the significance of the reunification.
A lot of Champ Car still lives, you know, in the new IndyCar, or not the new. I guess it is the new. Yeah. You know, it still lives, and I think over you know, over the next few years, when you see the schedules evolve in 09 and potential chassis engine combinations come down the pike, you know, I think that, and I hope that that the IRL, you know, takes what was good, some of the good about what Champ Car had, and incorporates that into the future IndyCar.
And for Jimmy Vasser, they've gone to the old school to get Jimmy someone to be his tactician. Up in the scoring box for Jimmy Vasser today is Tom Anderson. Anderson, of course, one of the early car owners in IndyCar competition, one of the first Champ Car teams to go over to IndyCar. Tom has been asked by his friend Jimmy Vasser to come over here and call the shots today. Remember, this is a one-off team for the Get Off the Couch tour for Vasser. I asked Jimmy how much work did he do to get ready to get back in the cockpit. He says, well, I started working out about 9-10 days ago. I looked at him and I thought, maybe that's the key to being a good race car driver. Don't press yourself too much too soon.
Thanks, Jack. You know, while you were talking, there was a pass behind Vasser, and that was the 37 of David Martinez getting around Junqueira. And there he is right there, so we ought to give him a tip of the hat because that was a very nice move.
Well, you know, it's interesting when Vasser was talking about things that are in this series that he would like to see over an IRL. Whoa!
Oh! And a mistake there is going to cost him a couple of spots.
Well, just no drive coming out of the turn, so you wonder if it's maybe something to do with the gearbox or possibly power, but he's back up to speed now. But I know a lot of people around here just love the sound of the turbo engine with this Cosworth engine. They love the power to pass button, which gives you options. And a lot of drivers also love the option tires that make the car handle a little bit different and give you a different strategy, more options to pass here when you have those different tools in your toolbox, Marty, to set your car up.
And we mentioned that this is Jimmy's 16th year. Let's take you back to the year that he loves the best. How about 1996? He was running for Chip Ganassi's team at that time, and Chip was happy. And why not? Because they just won the race. Some of the history here at Long Beach. Boy, and talk about history. We've had a lot this weekend. Danica Patrick's win yesterday, and who's going to win today? Let's talk a little bit about the motorsports calendar as you ride along with Graham Rahal at Summit Racing Equipment. NHRA Southern Nationals qualifying will be next Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, and then we'll be in Kansas next Sunday. First time you'll get to see Danica Patrick and everybody back together on the same oval, 5 p.m. Eastern. And that'll be followed by the finals of the NHRA Power Drag Racing Series, 7 p.m. on ESPN2. And we mentioned Graham Rahal running fourth right now and has been closing in on Montagny right there in the index machine. As he is on the black tires, in other words, the harder compound, but is doing a very good job on it.
The neat thing right now is that he's been able to work away at getting the car a little bit faster. When I unloaded off the truck the other day, it was not that good, and he fit to me. I think we are just off on setup. St. Pete's was very good for us, but we're just off on setup here, but they've made some great gains in this last day and a half and into qualifying and even warm up here this morning. And now it looks like the car is comfortably getting through the turns. Now he's on that harder tire, the black tire. He's got a lot of tools at his disposal, still has the red wall tires to put on during the next stop if he wishes to do so. Remember, a little bit more grip out of those red wall Bridgestone Potenza tires. Push to pass, he seems to have lots of that, so he can find some more power with the engine. So we'll have to see what kind of strategy the team's going to work for him when it comes down to run for the checkered.
And we should point out, remember, points are being awarded towards the IndyCar Championship, and Graham, where he stands right now, would be tied for 5th in the points. Will Power, with him running up front, would move into 7th in IndyCar points. So this is very, very significant for all these positions.
And they're very much aware of it. And when you see cars go by, if the rain light or the light that's on the back of the car is showing as we start to look at some of this information here along the bottom screen, you see the throttle being picked up all the way through the gearbox, a 7-speed gearbox here. Watch the speed on your left-hand side. Going up to 12,000 RPMs. It should get over 170 miles an hour before turn 1. And then back down the gearbox from 7th. Quick couple of shifts down here with a paddle shift, and then you start to work through 3rd gear all the way through around the fountain and towards the back part of the section of the racetrack. Now the rain light, as I started to mention, that's on the cars that you see. Those are the ones that are running towards the championship for the complete season standings. So you can see Graham's car going away from you right there with the red light on, and that's to let the other drivers know that those are the ones that are in the championship hunt.
Well, and one thing we should point out about Graham's paint job, if that looks a little familiar, like maybe from the days when Nigel Mansell was driving for that team and Mario Andretti, it is. It's a retro paint fit. And let's talk a little bit more with Jack. Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. Graham's getting dicey. Look out. So much for worrying about points.
Well, they're both taking advantage.
Oh, and he gets hit. Montagnier gets into him, and he goes around. Does anybody tag him? No. He's going to lose a lot of positions here.
That was a brave move on the outside of the turn, because sometimes you can make it work, sometimes you cannot. But what he was trying to do was try to be on the inside for turn 11. Boy, he can find reverse very quickly. Now light that thing up and spin it sideways if he doesn't have the thing stalled. What a great job.
Well, he may be wanting to reconsider. So talked about exactly what we were mentioning. Montagnier is not going to be racing the entire season. He has nothing to lose here. Graham had a lot to lose, and he falls back because of this.
Well, as they're coming down towards turn 9 after that long back straightaway, what he's trying to do is take advantage of the traffic car that they're starting to go around, the 14 of Roberto Marino. Now he's on the outside, and he thinks maybe if I can make it away around here, I'll be on the inside for the next turn and get the run down the straightaway, but that did not happen. Here we go again. Now this is turn 10 around the outside. That left rear of Graham Rahal just gets touched. And boy, he is so fortunate not to get taken out by the other cars. Boy, and this is a tight line, Marty. Up over the curbing, and he actually starts just to rub the wheels together. And here you go, you're fighting, the adrenaline's going, you're not going to give up, and now you're going, man.
And he has dropped back to 15th position and is a lap down. So a very costly maneuver for Graham Rahal, our winner 2 weeks ago. And as we talked about the big picture of things as these drivers move on down the road, our first incident between a driver who's trying to make an impression, Frank Montagnier, trying to win a job with somebody, and Graham Rahal.
Well, I think Graham is actually not down a lap. I think he's just at the very tail end of that group right now, so he's got to get his foot on it so he's not going to turn around and get caught up by the guys that are leading.
And you're right. He did stay on the lead lap. Scoring has just updated that. Let's bring in Jackaroo.
Guys, across the Long Beach grandstands, you could hear a big cheer and a whoa when that occurred, but you could also hear it all the way back in Japan. Now, a lot of the drivers like Elio Castroneves and others were able to overnight back here to Long Beach to watch the point situation. But all of the crew members don't leave until tomorrow morning. So what have they done? They've all gotten to an Aussie-owned restaurant in Mito City, Japan, called the Drunken Duck. It's the big hangout when you are over there in Japan, because they're the home of, well, kind of American-looking food, if you want to call a kangaroo burger that. And they're all watching on a big screen TV. So I want to give a shout-out to all the crews that just gave a collective sigh when Graham Rahal just charged into that corner as well and spun.
And Jack, what the follow-up question is, how do you know so much about the Drunken Duck?
Guys, when you're over there, you have 2 choices, the Drunken Duck at night and McDonald's in the morning. That's it.
All right, the drama continues to unfold as this history-making event after a history-making weekend. Let's take a look at some of the history from 1991, and that was Mario Andretti coming up and over. This was back when the speed was unlimited in pit lane. It changed right after that incident. As you can tell, Mario was not all that. Michael, I'm sorry, it was Michael. Yes, I'm sorry.
I was in that race. I remember that.
And of course, then in 1992, a lot of other drama and excitement going on as well. Saturday, ABC brings you the NASCAR Nationwide Series. It's the Aaron's 312 at Talladega. Our coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown, 2:30 p.m. Eastern on ABC. What a great shot this is. This is the left front suspension on Will Power's car, and that's right over the rumble strips.
Isn't this neat? You just get to see how close you have to get to the wall as you weave your way through the streets here at Long Beach. You cannot make a mistake. As we saw with Paul Tracy, just a couple of inches too far over, and he clipped the wall on turn 11 as you ride along with Will Power now, as he's going to take a blast down Seaside Way. You're going to get on the gas and just try to accelerate as hard as possible. Up out of turn 6 through turn 7, and now on to turn 8. Catching back up with Seaside Way and all the way down that bumpy backstretch towards turn 9. Watch this bump. and that's what the driver feels, as you pointed out before, Marty.
You said by the end of the race, your neck is so stiff, all you want is a cold ice pack.
Oh, it is so brutal here, but you know, it is so enjoyable because this has always been one of the highlights of the races on the circuit. The crown jewel, as we always like to say it, of street racing. Great to have it back on the series.
Well, I got to tell you, Will Power has used about half of his power to pass, and that was mostly at the beginning of the race on the first restart. And he is in control by 3.8 seconds over Alex Tagliani. Then it's Frank Montagny in third. Frank Pereira is fourth, and then it's Enrique Bernoldi in fifth. You're asking what happened to Graham Rahal? There he is. He's in 12th right now, and he has got some of the fastest laps, in fact, the fastest laps of the race as he's trying to fight his way back towards the front. We can tell you that Jimmy Vasser has pulled into the pit lane. Jack?
Off come the Reds, on come the Blacks. Look at the guy changing the left front. That's Dave Higuera from the Target Ganassi days. They're taking on a full load of fuel. Higuera was part of Vassar's championship-winning team for Ganassi. He's also here working in the pits. This is kind of a nostalgia weekend.
And an appropriate way to send it off with the final event of the Champ Car Series here. Of course, the Indy cars will be back next year here at Long Beach. Danica Patrick, along with everybody else that will be racing next week at Kansas. As you see that, boy, Graham Rahal's got the bit between his teeth. He's making a move to the inside and gets around E.J. Vizo.
And he is lapping in the 68-second bracket, Marty, around this circuit all the time, continuously shouting out here for the fastest race laps all the time, running about a second faster than most of the guys are consistently doing. But the problem is he's a long ways back right now, some 36, 37 seconds behind the leader.
And there is the race leader, Will Power. He has gone 26 laps since his last stop. We are in the window. One more stop, everybody should be able to make it, based on the calculation of 30 minutes, 50 seconds remaining in the race. It is right now Power, Tagliani, Montagny. Mario Dominguez has now moved up to fourth through the pit stops, and Oriol Servia is fifth. You're asking where is Rahal? He's up to seventh, but he still has a stop to make. There's Tagliani in the 15. And the 7 is Montagny. And it looked like Tagliano just pulled off right there. Yes, he did. He ducked into pit lane. And this will be his last pit stop as he makes his way towards Jackaroot.
And Alex Tagliani will take on the Bridgestone Reds. They will go with plenty of fuel. They're going to pack it in, so it'll take longer for the fuel than to put the tires on. This is the opportunity that they've waited for since they had their pre-race meeting. Now they will get the green light to full power to Alex Tagliani.
So Tags gets back out onto the track, and he'll try and track down that man right there who has been in control, Will Power, as we've had a total of 3 leaders, 4 different lead changes, but it's really been Will Power in control of this race for the most part from the get-go. He has led 55 laps.
Well, the question is right now, they've already showed their hand by putting the red tires on, so they sort of put their strategy out there for everybody to see. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Will Power, what they decide to do when they come in for their pit stop, whether it's going to be the black wall tires or the red wall tires. And sir, the car can handle just a little bit different depending on the compound that you have on there. But speaking with the Walker team just yesterday, as Will Power gets the information to pit this lap. Oh, that's the 7 car, Montagne. But you're going to end up having to pit here very shortly. There we are.
And there is Montagny as he is into pit lane. Gets the tires and is back out.
Go, 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 go. Stay right, good job. Watch the speed in pit lane.
And there's Oriol Servia pulling into pit lane as Montagny comes back out on the course here with 28 minutes, 40 seconds remaining in the Champ Car finale. Now, he was running in second place, and Will Power, it has been 28 laps since he last made a pit stop, and we're working lap number 60.
Will, pit. This lap, pit.
Absolutely. That was the call for Will, even though it said car number 7 up on top of the screen. So this is his signal now to make sure that he comes in. He would have been running as hard a lap as possible to try to stretch that lead up over the second place car at that time of Tagliani.
And as he makes the way into pit lane for what will be his final stop, let's send it to Jamie Little.
Will Power has said next to nothing this entire race, and I'm told by the team that means a good thing. He loves his car. No changes expected once again. They're going to take off some blacks, and Scotty, you were talking about what tires. They're going to put blacks on there, 4 of them, gas them up. They hope this is a money stop. Will Power just about down and away. Fuel takes longer than tires, and he's away. Marty?
All right, thank you, Jamie. And the question will be, who ends up with the lead? It should be Mario Dominguez, as he would be next to cycle through. If he has pulled into pit lane, we'll find out. We'll see how it all sorts out here at the streets of Long Beach.
Now, should have Will Power coming out of the pit lane. Is Tagliani just behind him coming off the front stretch? Let's just sort of see how far behind, or did he go by? Here we go right now.
And we can tell you that there is Tagliani, and that's Montigny. That is for position, and boy, Tagliani just takes it away from him.
Will Power, a faster in-lap, a faster out-lap. We'll have to see if he can complete that whole package together now, but he put down some great times there once he knew that his pit window was open and he had to get in.
Now, according to scoring, that is for 3rd and 4th on the racetrack. They're showing Dominguez in 2nd place, although I did not see his car go by. And they did show him going into the pits the same time Will Power had went into pit lane. So we'll find it out. We'll sort it all out when we come back to the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Oh, that's the Queen Mary right there on a cruise ship from Carnival off to the left. As you can tell, we're in the streets of Long Beach. And of course, that means every year they have the Pro Celebrity Race. And you might recognize one of yesterday's competitors.
Hey guys, we're here at the Toyota Pro Celebrity Race, and I'm one of the competitors. I'm trading in the microphone for the steering wheel. So let's go check it out and meet some of my competitors. How's your physical fitness, man? You holding up for this deal?
Honestly, I'm really relaxed today.
I would stay away from Sally. I did something to your car. I moved the seat up a little bit. Is that going to affect you?
I can drive with no feet.
When I get to you, pull over. Get out of the way.
I'll be seeing you in victory lane. You can visit me.
I'll be there with him. I'll be there with him.
Yeah, we'll see about that, boys. Yeah.
Well, there was Jamie, and that was Brad Lewis, the producer of Ratatouille. And take a look. That was near the end of the race. He was leading, and there's Jamie in the silver car. Now, Mike Skinner could have dumped her in the last corner. He didn't. She wins the overall, only the 2nd woman ever to do it. Dara Torres the other. And Skinner wins the pro side of it. And there's the champagne celebration. She even did her best imitation of Elio Castroneves. Good job.
Thanks, Marty. You know, I traded in the steering wheel for my microphone again, but what a great day, great experience yesterday, and I just dedicated that win to all these drivers, Champ Car, IndyCar, NASCAR, who've inspired me and built this passion for racing. It was truly amazing, and I'm having a great time today.
Well, you did us proud. We're proud of you, and let's get back to the action now, as she was the other lady to win yesterday. Of course, Danica Patrick became the big winner in the story, and you can take a look at Alex Tagliani, as he is now in 2nd place. When we went to break, we were told, you know, we were going to cycle out and figure out what happened with Dominguez. And yes, after the stop, Dominguez came out in 4th place. And we wondered why we didn't see him there, but scoring finally corrected it. So it is Will Power, Alex Tagliani, Montigny, Dominguez, and Frank Pereira. And there's Montigny, as that's your top 5.
You know, and interesting, after that stop, Will Power has been running 69.4, 69.5, and Alex Tagliani is not that far behind him whenever they get clear laps. But there is a difference on the tires and the strategy there. Obviously, the red tires, as red sidewalls, as you see going along there in the 15th car of Alex Tagliani, a little bit more grip. But can you maybe overwork them and maybe drive too hard and take the shine off them sometimes, as we call it, and maybe take the life away from them? Maybe that might happen to him, but he's going to have to make them work here very quickly and not let Will Power get too far away, because 2 different strategies running by both these drivers and teams here.
Well, you know, we've talked about the fact Tagliani, one of those drivers that is not guaranteed any kind of ride after today. And as we look forward into the big picture of things, you know, the buzz has been about Danica Patrick and her big win yesterday in Twin Ring Motegi. And I guess the question is, as we close this chapter of Champ Car, where do we see this sport going now? I mean, the kind of momentum that we're seeing with Graham Rahal winning and now Danica, the media play is just going to be incredible, I would think, going into the next 2 races, especially the month of May at Indy.
I don't think since unification, Marty, that you could have written a better script to have someone like Graham Rahal, a 2nd-generation driver, win at the streets of St. Petersburg. Just a great new street race that's on the circuit right now. And then coming here to this event and coming back to Long Beach, which has really been one of the crown jewels of the kart series that I competed in back in the 90s. I think this is all building towards momentum at the right time. We'll go to Kansas next weekend, a great racetrack, and then we'll go off to the month of May at Indianapolis. And I just think that it's going to continue building down the road from there.
And there's one of the guys that will be participating in the month of May and at Kansas next week, Oriol Servia. You see his numbers there. Started 12th, has moved up a total of 5 positions throughout the course of the race. And he's no stranger to Long Beach. Of course, subbed for Paul Tracy last year, as we told you earlier. He talked about the Long Beach scene.
Long Beach is special. From my first time here was in '98, and I was, you know, really surprised. I was just doing Indy Lights, but when I saw the big crowds and, you know, there's so many things that makes Long Beach, you know, how many years there's been racing there. Formula One was there before, and from that to the Queen Mary right there to Hollywood, you know, there's just so many things that make that race, that atmosphere special, that it's always great to be part of it.
Well, what a race it's been for Oriol Servia so far. As you guys stated, he started 12th, but right after the start, his car, as he said, just died. He was dead stopped, brought out the full course yellow, had to come in, started from the back, and he has worked his way, guys, all the way up to 7th right now. So great run for Servia, great pit stops today, and what a year it was for him last year. But, you know, as I mentioned at the top of the show, he's racing for points here, so he's salvaging every position possible. Great run for Oriol today, guys.
And with less than 20 minutes remaining, it's now crunch time for a lot of these teams. Guys that want to try and pick up some ground, like Graham Rahal, Paul Tracy, they're over 30 seconds back. They're going to need a yellow to get back into this. Stay with us. Just a reminder that the motorsports calendar for the coming week, we have the Summit Racing Equipment NHRA Southern Nationals Atlanta with qualifying Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. And then on next Sunday, it's the IndyCar 300. That's where we'll be at Kansas, 5 p.m. Eastern, followed by the finals of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. All right, up front is Will Power by 6.9 seconds, but look at Frank Montagnier. He has gotten around while we were in commercial break, Alex Tagliani, and pushed Tags back to 3rd. Let's take you back to what happened heading towards turn 9.
Got a great drive off of turn 8 because Tagliani started to get the back end sliding around just a little bit, and a perfect timing to turn around and use a little bit of that power to pass to make that move on Tag, and he got it completed.
Jack Root, you've got more?
Absolutely. Scott Goodyear, before that pass, Mondego had actually 49 seconds of push to pass, while the guy he was passing, Alex Tagliani, had only 3 seconds. Derek Walker pointed that out on the computer and said it's only a matter of time. Once he was passed, Derek Walker radioed to Tag, said just try to stay with him, try to stay with him. They're down. They're almost out of push to pass. So now it's going to be just a case of holding on and seeing where he can finish.
And I got to tell you, that this is one of those elements I'd like to see incorporated into the IndyCar series, especially on the road courses and street circuits, because it adds an element of excitement that the fans can sort of tune into. We can tell them exactly how much power to pass these guys have left. I think it's a neat concept.
It is, and it's a different tool in your toolbox to use as a driver, and the strategy for the team that we were talking about at the beginning of the show and what to watch for. And the other side of that, too, is that it gives the driver something that he knows that he has to use just to get by if you have to. But there's pressure on you not to go ahead and use it irresponsibly, which, you know, right now, Tag is in a situation where he's used it a fair amount and left himself nothing to be able to combat anybody that has it left on their side, and that's exactly where I think you have to play that game. The other side of it, too, I'm watching now, is maybe these red tires, the red wall tires, don't work as well once you start to get the car out there running after full loads are starting to go down, the car starts to get a little bit lighter because the guys that are running the fast times right now are using the standard black wall tires. So the question is, the reds are a little softer this year. Are they too soft? Maybe are they just a little bit too soft and they start to move around? Or I'm noticing a lot of rubber around this racetrack here, Marty, so maybe the blacks are the way to go.
12 minutes, 49 seconds and counting as the clock continues to run on the final Champ Car race at Long Beach. Stay with us. Don't forget, Saturday, ABC brings you the NASCAR Nationwide Series. It's the Aaron's 312. They'll be at Talladega. The coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. For more, just log on to ESPN.com. You're looking at the battle for second place here at the streets of Long Beach. And I should say, let me correct myself, it's the battle for third as we got Will Power in front of Montigny, Tagliani, and Dominguez, and that's Dominguez all over the back wing of Alex Tagliani. And the time is running down, 9 minutes and 42 seconds. Let's get more from Jamie Little.
Well, guys, what a run for Mario Dominguez. You know, he started 16th, or he's worked his way up. He started 10th, actually. He's worked his way through the field. A big day for Pacific Coast Motorsports. You know, this is a second-year team, and they're expected to make a big announcement next week that will involve their participation with one team in the IndyCar series. They haven't announced their driver yet, but I have a feeling that this man, Mario Dominguez, will be at the Indy 500. Stay tuned next week for more on that. So great run for him right now. Mario Dominguez running fourth. Marty?
All right, thanks a lot, Jamie, as the laps and time continues to dwindle down, 9 minutes and 2 seconds. You aren't going to believe who has just slipped into our booth. All the way from Japan, the champagne is dry. That's right, Danica Patrick is going to join us. Say hi to everybody, we're on camera. We'll talk to her when we come back in our very cramped quarters here in Long Beach. Well, if you've been in a cave or stuck on the space shuttle and the space station, you may not know that Danica Patrick did this with 3 laps to go, passing Elio Castroneves, picks up her first career IndyCar win. I think Mom's lungs were going to explode right there, and there is the emotion of the victory as it was 50 starts, and that's a great photo right there, and she has joined us here in our booth, and there she is, and you look none the worse for wear.
Thanks. Well, this is what 20 minutes of freshening up does as you come straight from an airplane from Japan. So yeah, that was funny actually to see Mom, because I did a live shot for ESPN from the track, and you know, they do a little clip before, and all I heard was shrieking, and then they said, that was your mother. You know, they said, your mother, she has an excuse, it's your mother. And now I get to see it. She claims she didn't squeal.
Oh, she did. She did. And you've now seen it. Tell me about it. What's been the trip like back? Has it all sunk in?
You know, yes and no. I mean, you know, I think that big relief finally came off, but, you know, I think that, you know, the next, you know, week and then few months are probably going to be what really starts to unfold everything and see some stuff happening. So, what a relief, though. You know, it's just a long time coming. You guys have been around for it. So it was actually, it started in Japan 3 years ago. I qualified on the front row, and they were showing repeats of all the races, and it showed me, you know, on the green flag, passing Sam around the outside of 1 and 2 and took the lead and led for a while, and, you know, that was kind of the start of everything. So I guess it's only fitting that it ends there, and it was, you know, it's always great. It's great to win for Honda for sure there, and, you know, all the team, but, you know, the win is the win.
Let me point out, the battle we're watching on the racetrack is 4th, 5th, and 6th. Tagliani, Bernoldi, and Pereira. You'll be able to keep that. That's the best action we have going on the track, but obviously the attention because of the historic event, I mean, it has been everywhere, not just SportsCenter. I mean, not just the sports page, front page on a lot of papers. Can you believe it?
Again, yes and no. I think that, you know, I expect to win. That's what I'm paid to do. I'm a driver that's you know, that's supposed to go out there and get victories for my team and for everybody. But you know, I did always believe that it would be big when it happened. And for me, it was, you know, it was a matter of time, and it was like, when is it going to happen? And I'm not going to lie, I was definitely getting a little frustrated and thinking, you know, I believe in myself. I know I can win races, but like, when? You know, when's it really just going to happen? And so, whew.
All right, stay with us. We have got to take one more break before we go to the checkered flag on the Champ Car finale, the end of one era, and as you can see right next to it, the beginning of another. And we're back here at the streets of Long Beach as Will Power is in front of Montigny by 4.7 seconds, and then it's 17 seconds back to Mario Dominguez in his battle for 3rd, 4th, and 5th with Alex Tagliani and Enrique Bernoldi. And joining us in our booth is the winner of last night's race from Motegi, Japan. And Jack Root, I have to say this, he actually beat you back, so you did lose something. He got here to the racetrack before you did.
I think that there was a 5 o'clock flight and we were on like a 7:10 flight. So
that's the only thing you lost. Don't feel bad.
Yeah, it was me and the family and Dan and Scott Dixon.
Hey guys,
Dixon were on there too.
Guys, it's the only time I'll ever get a chance to beat DP.
That's for sure, Jack, because we've seen you climb over walls and it just doesn't look pretty.
Jack, are you as tired as I am?
I should say no, but yes.
Take a look. The brakes locking up as we've got action out on the track as the battle continues here, as time continues to wind down. 3 minutes remaining. Will Power is in control of this race. Take a look at what's going out here. This is the future of half of the sport, because we've got 9 guys and apparently 10 with Pacific Coast Motorsports coming up with a big announcement next week. And you're going to be racing out there next year.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We're going to be all racing together in not very long, I think. So, you know, I think it's going to be a great turnout for Indy. I think it's going to be really good. Bump day is going to be really bump day now, I think. It's going to be exciting for the fans, for sure.
This is your first time you actually participated in the Pro Celebrity Race. You've been here before.
And I raced Atlantic here.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
so,
right.
yeah, it's a great place. It's a great venue. It's a great track. There's a lot of places to pass. So I'm glad that we'll be coming back here.
That was Oriole Serbia making a move. Scott?
Andretti Green has a lot of, the Andretti's have a lot of history here at Long Beach. So when you return here next year with the Andretti Green team, maybe a little bit of pressure to do well here?
There's always pressure. You know, I think that for me, street racing has been something that I thought that when I came into IndyCar, it would be like street racing, I'd probably do the best, and then the road courses, and then the ovals, and probably then the short ovals. And to be honest, it's probably flip-flopped completely. And you know, I really enjoy the short ovals. I love the oval racing. I think it's a lot of fun. And then, you know, I've finally kind of gotten in the swing of the road courses, but the street courses now are something that I just haven't gotten on with it as well as I wish I would have. And so, yeah, there's always pressure to do well, but, you know, pressure for me to get better at these street courses. There's a lot of them.
I will tell you that I stood on the outside of turn 1 at Milwaukee the other year and watched you drive a car that was not handling very well, and I looked at that and I thought, this girl can drive a race car as good as any guy, because the back end was hanging out and you kept your foot into it, and I stood there and went, wow.
Well, the first year was probably, well, thank you very much. That's very kind. It was the first year we had traction control, and I was running behind Kanan and Franchitti, and I was really leaning into the traction control. And I mean, I would basically lift when it kicked in. I'd just keep on the throttle until it kicked in. So I was pushing it really hard, and I hit a patch of oil.
We're looking, and it'll be, nope, it looks like, did we give the white flag, or did he? All right, we are told we are on the final lap here. So we are on the final circuit for Will Power, and he has a 5-second lead over Frank Montagny. Dominguez is third, another 11 seconds back. Bernoldi is fourth, Pereira is fifth. So here's the gap. There is second place, Montagny. And then third is a long way back. So it's just a matter now of Will Power, who has been doing so well today. In fact, Will has been in command of 76 laps that he has led here. And there is Kevin Kalkoven, his team owner. They will lay claim, if he can just negotiate the last few curves, to the final Champ Car race. A 25-year span of the 34 years between kart and Champ Car racing here. And for Will Power, it will be his third win in Champ Car. And most importantly, he will pick up 50 valuable points. It'll move him into 6th place in the points championship standings. And here he comes down Shoreline Drive for the final time. And there is your winner, Will Power at Long Beach.
And how wonderful for Kevin Kalkoven, who was one of the owners of the Champ Car Series. As you mentioned, Marty, now merged in with the IRL.
Oh, and Graham Rahal has crashed, and looks like that's in the turn 8 area. So on the final lap, Rahal had been up to 7th place. He had worked his way back into a good points position after having the earlier contact and dropping all the way back as far as, I believe, I remember, about 14th place. So this is going to hurt him in the points championship. And there is your winner, Will Power, waiting for everybody to make their way through. And he's down in the turn 1 area doing the traditional donuts. And let's check in with Jamie Little.
Well, Kevin Kalkoven, one of the leading forces in the unification process, of course, synonymous in Champ Car. How do you sum up the emotions today? It's the end of an era today, and you guys go out on top.
Well, isn't it wonderful? It was also great that my partner, Jerry Forsyth, had the #2 car as well. So a great day, a great moment in motor racing history, and now we move forward to another great series.
What does this win mean for Will Power as you guys move forward in the IndyCar series?
Well, he's proven that he's one of the great road racers of all time. I mean, he was second in qualifying at St. Petersburg. He won here. And what can you say? He's just a great young man.
Congratulations. Go celebrate with your team. Kevin Kalkoven, guys, brings home the win. They started 4th, brought home the victory. Marty?
All right, thank you, Jamie. And you can hear the fireworks in the background. And Will Power puts the final exclamation point on this historic weekend. A bad end for Graham Rahal, as right now he is in the tire barrier, and there is the Homaltro safety team. Let's take another look at it and see what happened.
As you come down to the turn, it looks, remember we talked about those bumps that you get on all the time. He wasn't going to make the move on the inside going through into turn 9. And what ends up happening, the back end starts to come around on him. Watch the bump. Bang. Car starts to lose grip. He goes around. The back end comes around on him. He puts himself in the tire barrier. Unfortunately, he'll probably lose a few position and probably lose a few valuable points towards the championship run.
So not the end of the race that he was hoping for, but for Will Power, certainly what he was dreaming about, a victory in the final Champ Car race here on the streets of Long Beach. Danica Patrick, you can go get some rest now. Thanks so much for stopping by. I know
Oh, you think I'm going to go rest?
I'm still going to party,
This is just the
huh?
start. This is my first stop. So, no, thanks for having me. And glad I could make it back for the ending.
And we'll see you this coming week at Kansas and then the month of May.
Oh, yes.
All right, there she is, your winner from just last night at Motegi. And we'll talk to today's winner at the Champ Car finale here in the streets of Long Beach when we come back. ESPN's presentation of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach is brought to you by Toyota, moving forward. Well, the 34th edition from high up there in the condominiums along Shoreline Drive there just a moment ago is Will Power climbing out of the car, and the adulation of the thousands of fans here for the 34th running of this great event. And let's send it to Jack Arud, who's caught up with him.
Well, Will Power may have won this race on the start. Tell us about that, Will.
Yeah, we got a ripper start. I was doing plenty of burnouts before, not after the hairpin though. But yeah, it was good start, good strategy. We ran well, and you know, the yellows played well into our hands. So it's a good race. It was a very solid race.
This is the Champ Car finale at maybe one of the cornerstones of Champ Car success.
On television or not? Well done.
Yes, fantastic.
Congratulations from your car. And let's go back. It's Long Beach. It's a cornerstone of the history here of open wheel racing, and now it's going to be part of unification. Can you describe the feelings to know forever that your name will be etched next to the final Champ Car race in history?
It's an awesome feeling, you know. I'm so happy for the team, Aussie Vineyards, all the guys that worked so hard over the winter and had to get this IRL program going, and I just feel great for everyone, all the effort they put in.
So now you're going to move on and you're going to go back to the IndyCar series on a 1.5 mile speedway. What are the challenges there, going back and forth between the Panos and now the IndyCars?
Yeah, obviously it's a lot different, but you know, the guys have caught up a little bit. I don't think we're going to bridge that gap in the first year. I mean, they've got too much development on us, but you know, we'll be good on the road courses and street courses.
Well, there's a reason why your other co-owner, Jimmy Vassar, is not here. You had to race against him, and he's standing by right now with our very own Jamie Little. Jamie?
That's right, Jack, and he finished 10th. So, Jimmy, what's it like to get out of your car and know you're the winning team owner here? I mean, what are the emotions here?
It's fantastic. You know, I wish we could have done better with the Plantronics car. I got stuck in neutral in the hairpin. My hand hit the button as I was downshifting the first, and that system puts it in neutral, and I lost like 4 spots and had to burn a lot of fuel at the end to catch up, and so I had to save at the end. But you know, Will Power winning the race and Oriole coming back from a stall to finish 5th. I think it's fantastic. It really hasn't sunk in yet. It's really our first victory in quite some time. The last victory was Portland 05 with D'Amata, And all credit to the guys who've been working day and night for 2 months, getting IRL Indy cars ready and prepared for the last Champ Car race. And all credit to my team, Mark Johnson, general manager. And this is just great. I mean, Aussie Vineyards AU brand coming on board this year with Willpower is just, they're all down there in the victory circle. I can't wait to get down there with them.
Great job, Jimmy. Brian?
He won this race 4 times, but unfortunately mechanical problems caused a frustrating day for you, Paul Tracy. Describe your feelings climbing out of the car today.
Obviously, I'm disappointed for the whole team. That I've had a great career here at Forsyth, and it's a shame to have our last race go like this. But I got to thank Jerry Forsyth for all his support, all the sponsors that we've had on board with Bridgestone, and obviously as of late Monster for me. But it was a frustrating day. We got a flat early, and then I drove around the whole lap on the flat, and we got some kind of damage to the CV boot. It tore the clip off of it or something. So there was grease coming out of the CV, and we had to stop and repair it just when it was going to go green, and we got down about 3/4 of a lap. So it's kind of just drove around the whole day by myself, half the track behind. So it was a little bit frustrating, but hopefully this isn't my last race and we'll be able to come back for another time.
Guys?
Yeah, he needed a caution. We only had 3 cautions in this entire race, so that's why we had such a spread as far as the field. Let's take a look at the results. There were 13 cars on the lead lap, and you can see behind Will Power, Frank Montagny, Mario Dominguez, Enrique Bernoldi, Oriol Servia. That's your top 5. And then there's Jimmy Vasser in 10th. Paul Tracy did come back to finish 11th. And the last car on the lead lap, 13th, Graham Rahal, and you saw what happened to him into turn 9. 4 cars did not make it to the end: Moreno, Anala, Wilson, and Marias. And from there, we take a look at the points. And we went back and looked at the calculations again, and Will Power actually is ahead of Dan Weldon. I had him in 6th. The official count has him in 5th. What do you think of all this?
Well, 3 extra points for leading the most laps, a very dominating performance. He will have his challenges when he gets to the ovals, as he mentioned, but it won't take long for those transitioning Champ Car teams to turn around and understand the ovals, and I expect they'll be more competitive at Kansas than they were at Miami.
So it has been a historic weekend, and there is the celebration as they'll make the tour around the track. Just last night, it was Danica Patrick at one end of the globe in the IndyCar Series, and here, the closing chapter of the Champ Car Series. We'll see you next Sunday on ESPN2 for the IndyCar 300 at Kansas. The ticket gates open tomorrow morning, I'm sure. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next, it's the 07 World Series of Poker. Congratulations to our winner. That is Will Power. For Scott Goodyear, Brian Pedigo, Jamie Little, Jack Root, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Marty Reed. Till we meet again.